Hi there, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Delivered Podcast. I'm so glad that you've joined us this week. I'm your host, Athena Estelle, and on this week's episode, I'm super excited to have one of my local friends, Alanna, on. She is also a Yelper with me, so we will dive into that in just a few. But welcome, Alanna. We're so glad that you're here.
I'm glad to be here. Not just Yelp Elite. Make sure you have that in there.
Oh my gosh, Yelp Elite. Hello. Okay, so total sidebar, which is so funny, but Yelp Elite, for those who don't know, is this awesome community, probably in whatever city you're listening from, larger cities, where someone from Yelp will contact you or someone will nominate you and you get to go to different restaurants and try them and it's complimentary and you just tip and it is wonderful and you leave reviews and you meet cool people. So I sat next to Alanna for the first time. Was that a year ago now? A year and a half?
I think so.
Oh my gosh, it's been a while. And we just hit it off. We were talking about life and being moms. And so here we are, full circle moment.
Yes, it was great. We had amazing Italian food and it happened to be with your book club. So
Yeah.
I got to get to know everybody and what they like to read. And then you said you also did a podcast and that was awesome.
It's so cool. Isn't it so weird that the world just works in the smallest, weirdest ways sometimes?
It is. It is very, very unusual.
Yeah. Super cool. So go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then go ahead and start with just your motherhood journey, getting pregnant, and whatever you'd like to share.
Sure. So my name's Alanna. I have a 5-year-old now. Her name is Lucy. I'm married and I've been married for 6 years. And my husband is my support person. He's the person I have fun with. He's just an amazing part of life and parenting and all of that. So we have 2 puppies. We have Chiweenies, Gus Gus and Sadie, and they're tiny and loud. And for fun, I like gardening and knitting and watching TV and cooking. Those are some of the things I like. And then I work in marketing. So I do email, social media, and website SEO updates. So that is a little bit about who I am. And I have a food blog, Review Jacks. So that is kind of what got me into Yelp, is because I was already writing reviews. So that's the backstory.
So cool.
Yes. And some of this I know you don't know because we don't, know everything, all the details.
Yeah, that's so cool though. I love that.
Yeah. And I have listened to some of your early episodes where your husband talks about him being a part of your journey. So I know he's a huge support, and that what you're sharing with other people is not just the mom story, but how dads get through unexpected or difficult pregnancies. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. It's crazy. I don't think the men get enough. I don't want to use the word attention. That's the wrong word. I don't think that the spouse, partner, male person gets, maybe it is attention. I don't know. But like there's just limited.
Well, there's not sympathy the same way.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, correct. And support, like the support for the man and the support person, it's just not there.
No. Mm-hmm. That's another podcast, right?
I know. I was like, we'll come back for episode 2 about that with you. But okay, so tell us about your pregnancy. Was that easy for you? Did that go well? What did your delivery look like?
Sure. So to kind of give you context, we got married in August of 2019 and I was 34. So I was like, if we want to have kids, we're going to start now. Let's do this. And another really unique element of the story is I'm diagnosed bipolar. And so I've taken medication for about 15 years. And I usually take a mood stabilizer and an antidepressant. And those can be significant things to deal with if you want to get pregnant, because a lot of them you can't. It's either you take a really tiny dose or you stop taking it or you take a different medicine. Mm-hmm. So the first step for getting pregnant was actually getting off of medication. And we're like, we'll start with ground zero, no meds. And that was a few-month process, and it really upset my routines, made work difficult. I even had to so that November, I took 2 weeks off of work for mental health. And I had a counselor and a psychiatrist that were walking through this with me, but it was still difficult, and I wasn't even pregnant yet. Then skip forward to March of 2020. I happened to, because I think because of my mental health and where I was emotionally, my work was really difficult. And so I quit my job. And it was the next week, found out I was pregnant. And then the next week is COVID starting to happen. So it was just this perfect storm of all of these things. And at first it didn't seem that bad. It was just like, oh, we're trying, life's different. I'm rearranging my priorities to have a baby, and that's what I've always wanted. So it's going to be great. So it started out fine, just the typical, I'm kind of tired. And then I want to say a few weeks or early months, I started to go into a depression. And they just tell you all this stuff about postpartum, about after the baby, and kind of like the end of your pregnancy and when you're first bringing your baby home, but nothing about depression while you're pregnant. I think more of like nausea or baby showers, like those are the kind of highs and lows. But I was very depressed. I was looking for a job and I couldn't go places. It was, again, there was a pandemic. So it was a very strange time. It's like, do I want to have a job? Is my husband, who's still working, going to bring home COVID to me? Should I go outside? Should I grocery shop? But being at home all the time, am I just going to feel like super stir crazy? And my appetite changed. It kind of goes back to the Yelp thing. But I love food. I turn to food for comfort and stress, sometimes too much. But my appetite was gone. And I wasn't hungry and food wasn't comforting. So that was a big thing that wasn't there, that I couldn't turn to. I didn't have coworkers or distractions of work. It was just like myself. And then my husband was working from home and that helped. But still, it was just like I was in my head and a number of different things happened. I did get a job and then somehow anxiety kicked in, and I never really had bad anxiety. I've had like mania and depression with bipolar, but never the anxiety. And I would just wake up and I would like read a psalm because I was very desperate and eat breakfast. And then I would throw up. And it wasn't like nausea throwing up. It was like I was nervous because I was going to try to work from home. And it was very strange to start a new job and then think, well, I might not be able to continue this once I have the baby or even as I'm more pregnant. And with the depression, I started talking to my psychiatrist. Like, I don't know what to do. We tried to do no medication. It's time to do medication. What can we safely do? And I knew all along I probably wasn't going to be able to nurse because of what I might be taking. So we just tried different things, almost like every other week, and nothing was getting better. And it was just like, hold on, just try to wait for the next day, wait for the next day. Eventually, I got a job at a call center for a month and a half, 2 months. And it was this miserable job, but it was just a way to pass the time. And that was actually really helpful because it wasn't the pressure, like, if this doesn't go well, my career is over. And it brought in a little money, but mostly it was, 6 hours of the day that I wasn't thinking about how unhappy I was. And I was terrified of being a bad mom, of not being able to take care of my daughter because I couldn't take care of myself. And, I'm in my 30s. These are totally new thoughts. And so I think without any kind of past mental health stuff, it's still this insane transition of caring for multiple people, and your body's weird. And then I couldn't hang out with other moms because of COVID. And you experienced some of that, right?
Yeah, I had CC in June of 2020. So I was right after the wave of when they were not allowing a support person in the hospital. So I was lucky that Chris got to be in the hospital with me because we had friends whose family members up in New York in like April and May, they had their babies on their own, which is, I feel like you're on the border of inhumanity at that point. I just can't imagine. They were trying to make them wear masks when they were pushing. They had no support people. It's just like, that is, I'm thankful that we didn't have that in Florida, but
they did actually say my husband wasn't going to be able to come, but I got COVID the week she was due.
No.
Yeah. And the day she was due, my water broke that night. We knew that the due date was coming up. The due date was like Thursday, and it was Sunday that I found out I had COVID. And they were like, yeah, you're going to have to go by yourself. And my husband was like, no. He called. He talked to different people. He cried to different people. He was like, my wife has had a difficult pregnancy. And it was like not an option. I was going to, try to be strong or whatever, but it was just like, no, I can't. And then, so he was like, let me talk to this person. And I think that because I had the mental health history, I guess that worked in my favor because they were like, definitely, he needs to be there. And then it was kind of funny because every time someone would come in, they would like suit up and put on masks and give us food and then like practically run out. But they left, like there was trays that were left there because they couldn't get them. They're supposed to give us disposable ones. And then I guess they forgot. But it was just like this whole big thing for anybody to, even just the nurses, to come in and check on us. So yeah, I had COVID and it didn't affect my breathing too much. It really mostly meant I took like an antibiotic, and the delivery itself was very, very normal, very like, I guess, uneventful. I think that the scariest thing was the epidural because I was not used to being poked in my back. And my OBGYN didn't go over with me a lot of like what was going to happen day of or once I was there. So it was really like, just tell me what to do. And they did. And we figured it out. And then once she was born, they had a waiver that I had to sign and say, if I wanted to hold her, I was going to be exposing her to COVID. And so I was taking on that risk. So they're like, you should probably just have your baby in the other room. But if you sign this waiver, you can hold her and keep her. And I was like, okay, for my mental health and just for us, for bonding, for everything. But it was the first decision I'm making about her life is to expose her to illness. It was, nothing can prepare you for those kinds of things. But we did.
She end up getting COVID?
No. No, they tested her in the hospital a couple times. My husband didn't get it.
Good gift,
he did wear a mask at home for like a good 4 days. And I actually came home from the hospital, and then the next day I went back to the hospital because I was having trouble breathing and wheezing. And they said it was COVID pneumonia, and they did some breathing treatments. And then they said, okay, go home. But we'd been home for not even 24 hours. And it was rough. The COVID part was really kind of scary, but abstract because I didn't know what could happen. And I was still kind of disconnected with reality the way that my depression was. And I was just scared. I was just like, I don't know what to do. I don't feel like I'm in control of my health. I don't feel stable. Before she was born, I actually tried to go to Kaiva, which is like one of those temporary critical care places, but I couldn't because I was pregnant. And so, and I've been hospitalized in the past for mental health stuff, but years ago. And so I was like, yeah, that will help. This could be a good thing. And they're like, no, you're pregnant. We're not doing that because, again, COVID. And they're like, you can do an intensive outpatient. And I'm like, and stare at my computer for 4 hours for $1,000 a day or something. It's good that they have that. And the only like prepartum depression care that they had was in Gainesville. I saw was the closest thing, and you have to go stay there. And so, and I remember once within the first few weeks, my husband, I was telling him, I don't know, I can't do this. I don't know how to keep going. I'm like, I just feel just disconnected and I don't know what to do. And he's like, you have to be here with us. He was just basically begging me to be there. And I think seeing how deeply it was impacting him and just how necessary, again, to take care of my daughter as a group, we were able to get through it without like a hospitalization.
Gosh, that's intense. I think looking back, it's so different because now you've had 5 years to think about it and mull it over and go back and all of that. But would you say that the depression was, I don't want to say COVID caused, that's definitely not fair or accurate, but like COVID amplified because it was so much unknown about being a mom for the first time and then having, just that mental health history, but then also paired with a nationwide pandemic that no one knows what to expect or what's coming next. So what do you think was the root of the depression? Was it fear almost and just not having any control, or I don't know. What would you say put you in that headspace? If you can.
I mean, I think it really does start chemically because it wasn't like a day-to-day thing. It just sort of came on. And since I felt it before, it's really, yes, it is partially circumstantial. There was a lot of crappy life things happening. So I think there's that chemical factor. I think isolation is one of the biggest things. I couldn't just sit with friends and cry. I had to do it over the phone. And I wasn't running into people and smiling at people. I mean, just being able to see people smile and stuff, I was starved. I was absolutely starved for that. I don't like working from home. I mean, I think it can work with the right level of Zoom and the right places, but I thrive even being just around one or two other humans throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Mm-hmm.
the isolation was a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then after you had your daughter, when did you resume your meds? Was it pretty immediate or was there a slow transition or how did that work?
So I actually was on meds when I had her. So I was having different ones, but I did change it in the hospital. They had the prescription to go, and I had to do different ones. I was on some ones I'd never been on, and I stayed on for a while. So I was still having my psychiatrist work with me to try to figure things out. And not nursing was also, I think, confusing for my body. It just felt weird and I was sick and it was still a long process. And my best friend lives in Orlando and she came to visit me within the first week. And she spent the night and actually let my husband and I sleep. And she did the baby feedings during the night. And it was amazing. It was very comforting. And when she left, I cried. I think that's the only time in my life that I've ever cried with somebody leaving. And I was still scared. I was scared of just how to do life now. But within a week, she actually came back like the next week. Things were so much already starting to get a little better.
That's great.
And that's where I think, again, it's like this mixture of chemistry and I don't know. And I was scared too of medical problems that could happen during pregnancy. Because of having a baby a little older, I've seen and heard so many friends who've either lost babies or had traumatic childbirth. And so I think the whole time I was holding my breath. I don't know how I would handle this loss. And even I think the one big thing is people were always telling me, how's the nursery coming? Did you decorate the nursery? Maybe just do one part of it at a time, do one drawer or to rearrange the room. And I couldn't do any of it. And it felt like a lot of pressure. I didn't know what to say. And I felt like I should be doing it, but there was like a mental block. And it was fine. She was born and it wasn't the cutest nursery and we decorated it later and it was fine. She was
Mhm.
taken care of. She was loved.
Yes.
And I think when people are asking and stuff, they tend to focus on things that, well, you just got to do this. And it's like, well, do what you can. I think that's one thing I would say.
Mm,
So,
that's a great motto.
and one thing I wanted to also mention was I found Postpartum International, and they have peer groups that I think they met almost every day, or at least 5 days a week at different times. Virtual groups of other women who either are pregnant or had babies and were dealing with depression. And I think that helped deal with the isolation and seeing other moms bawling over colicky babies or even having 3-year-olds and still trying to figure out some part of being a mom. So that was a major, major resource. And it was all free too. That part was
Mhm.
helpful.
That's a great resource. I don't remember who told me about it either, but yeah, life changing on there.
Hmm.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's really cool on there also how I think at the time trying to get in with a psychiatrist, I don't know if you struggled. Like,
Yeah.
because now, was your psychiatrist when you were pregnant and dealing with all this, was that the one that you'd been seeing prior or you had a new one?
Okay, so I was seeing a different one, but he was from another country and there was a language barrier, which was
Okay.
fine when I didn't need a lot of changes in my meds. He was awesome. But once I was getting into this stuff, I think it was a recommendation from somebody. Some
Mhm.
people would recommended, oh, this person's worked with moms or this person hasn't. I think I spent more time eventually looking for a psychologist to talk to, and so that was more difficult because I ended up having a psychiatrist I really liked. I'd still see her. And
Oh, that's great.
oh yeah. Yeah, and with my mental health history, I kind of always have a psychiatrist on call for like 20 years. She'd ask me the questions over and over, like, are you going to harm yourself? I'm like, no, I'm not. But I need help. I need help now. And she did a lot of trying different things with me. And also the whole time, what can we do that's going to have the least impact on Lucy and on my
Mm,
baby? So,
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hard because I feel like there's so much pressure to be a mom and then add COVID and then add a mental health condition. And it's just like, I don't know. I felt like I used to play mental ping pong in my head, sometimes all day long, because you're just like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? And I never thought about this and da 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 da. And it's just like, it's a lot to manage.
Yeah. And it
It's,
was technically geriatric because I was 36,
isn't that
turned
so
36.
annoying and wrong?
Well, and so then I had to go to all these specialist appointments and
Like downtown to the Rock.
a different rock, but
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
on the south side area. And I think that contributed to the whole like, what if everything goes wrong?
Hmm.
What if my baby doesn't have an arm or something? And I wouldn't like voice those things, but there's a lot of fear that I had no idea I was going to have. And it went away. A lot of
Hmm.
it just went away with having her, with taking care of her, with taking care of myself. All those things were kind of falling back into place afterwards because I think a lot of the life is we can't control it, and so there is kind of always a threat, your kids on the playground going to get hurt or something like that. I just got stuck in that moment of what do I do? What if I have a nursery and then I have to clean it up because there's no baby? And then I just got stuck right there.
Mm,
And I don't even know if I said that. It was just like, I'm scared is all I could say. And it's that hindsight thing.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And when you're in it, it's almost like your tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
So like everyone's mentioning the nursery, like that's what's in your mind. So it's hard to break that cycle.
Mm-hmm. And I
Yeah.
know my husband also was very lonely because I wasn't able to engage with him in our normal ways. Just I couldn't listen to him as
Hmm.
well. And so he's not at work, he's at home. And it was very difficult for him. And yeah,
Yeah. Like the perfect wild storm all at once, plus just a cherry of COVID.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I hate to blame everything on COVID, but honestly, I mean, it's written in history books. Like we can blame everything on it. It's fine.
We should,
Yeah.
we should. And my husband would always remind me, like, there's a pandemic. That's probably part of the reason you're feeling this way. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, but I can't see out of it. I couldn't see outside of that. I think there is probably a tiny amount of envy for anyone who didn't have a COVID baby. What's it
Oh.
like to go to tour the hospital with a group? That sounds amazing.
Hmm.
Or to register and not be terrified at Target. Like, I
Hmm.
want 6 things because that's all. Like, I'm just going to get the basics and get out of here before I start crying.
Yes. Yes, I will never forget. Oh my gosh, this is going to sound so superficial, but it's not. You know me, I'm very outgoing. I could talk to a wall, but I don't love being the center of attention. But I was very excited to finally have a baby shower. I was just so pumped because I have thrown and helped thrown very many. I love them. I have many nieces. All my friends had had kids by the time we had kids.
Yeah.
So the majority of them, we'll say that. But I was like super pumped to have a baby shower. And then COVID hits, and my whole family's up north.
Yeah.
Like my people are Ohio, my husband's Pennsylvania. And so the first thing before we even talk about canceling the baby shower is I'm for sure not going to be able to have a baby shower. There's no way. And I'm like, it's okay. It's a pandemic. It's fine. But when you mention that about the having envy for people who had regular
Mm-hmm.
life pregnancies, that's the first thing that gets me is the baby shower.
Aw.
Because my best friend local did host one, but it was very 6 feet apart. And there was still probably, I don't know, 6 to 8 people that came, but it was really cute because the ones that couldn't come would like drive by, like a drive in, like they would come and wave and then leave, which was great.
Yeah.
And then some of my girlfriends from church rallied and they did a drive-by baby shower where they just like dropped stuff and kept driving.
Aw.
So there was definitely some good there, but I know what you mean with the envy of the non-COVID
Yeah.
babies in the world because yeah, just like so many little luxuries. I remember telling my husband Chris, I would love to go to Publix and let someone touch my belly. Please come up to me and try to touch my belly. Like, let's do that.
Yeah.
And he would be like, no, I'm going to go get the groceries. And I would look at him and be like, come on. And then I remember, hilarious. This is actually really funny. The one Sunday, I was like, you know what? Next Sunday at church, I'm going to let someone touch my belly. I might even ask them if they want to touch my belly. Kid you not, we get an email that's church will now be virtual, like for the next, like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, really, God? I was
Yeah.
really excited about that, actually.
Oh.
So, yeah, the COVID baby envy, it's a thing. I feel it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of it's just you've been to baby showers for so long and you've seen people celebrate, you've helped people celebrate, and so it's your turn. You want to
Hmm.
get excited. And again, I love parties and events and stuff like that, but I
Hmm.
couldn't like just getting a list to my mother-in-law to plan this was so hard
Hmm.
registering, and people did end up coming and we stood far away and the pictures are really cute, but I know the whole time I'm smiling and things look really cute, but I just feel awful inside. I was just, and
Hmm.
so it's like I'm glad I took the pictures. I have really cute like baby bump pictures, but also I know how I
Oh.
felt. And also, it's funny because I lost weight because food didn't taste good, and I was walking all the time, so I looked so healthy. And again, I have these smiling pictures, but I was devastated inside, and that's all I
Hmm.
knew for a very long time. Um,
Hmm.
and my husband watched all of NCIS, which, which we just needed some show, and so every night it was like, let's watch a few episodes and eat some cookies and survive.
Yeah. Yeah. And isn't it crazy that you can look at those pictures? Because I feel the same way how you feel about when I look at my daughter's first birthday pictures, because that was after I was hospitalized. I came home, I was trying to reintegrate to my life. And I look at them and they make me happy because it's obviously her first birthday, but I can almost like feel
Mhm.
physiologically how I felt in that moment when I look at those pictures. It's almost like I feel like a little bit of disgust just because it's exactly like you said. You're living it, you're smiling, you're trying to be happy, but you're mentally checked out. Like
Yeah,
you are not present.
yeah.
There is just so much else going upstairs. So it's like, yeah, I get that 100%.
Yeah, yeah, it's brutal. And we moved. Maybe she was like 3 or 4 months old. We moved, and I
Hmm.
was so happy. I hate those apartments so much. The apartments that I was pregnant in. Even though we brought her home there and had started to adjust, there was
Hmm.
so many difficult days there that it's still visceral.
Ooh, so when you moved, did you almost feel that change? Just, oh my gosh, new place, new
Oh,
spot,
and we
like,
moved into like a really crappy apartment, and I loved it. It was so great. And that was where the nursery was a lot more coordinated. My husband's like,
hmm.
it still wasn't perfect. And I think I like that about it. And I'm like, well, but I got curtains and I got some animal sheets and just different things. So, yeah. And
Hmm.
then her birthday, I hadn't thought of this till now, but her birthday was special. Her first birthday, I was back. And so it felt different.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so great. That's so funny because I was thinking about our questions and what we talked about pre-recording. So when you say that you were back, I love saying that. It's like a pure redemption story, like
Yeah.
reclaiming your life. It's so powerful. Was there a time frame, or I don't want to say a moment because that's very hard. I mean, there might be a moment, but was there a time frame where you're like, "Oh my gosh, I remember feeling I'm back. I feel great." What would you say?
It's funny because I feel like I remember more like the bad leading up to it, kind of one of the lowest moments. Lucy was here. It was within that first week of being home and crying with
Mhm.
my husband, sitting on the floor, like, I don't know how we're going to do this. And that's happened one other time in my life where things were really difficult. And in order for them to turn, they kind of had to get to that, like, just utter helplessness. And I mean, I was emailing my church and being like, pray for me, anybody, everybody. And it's really hard with depression because it's not like, I'm in this treatment for this broken leg or cancer or some other thing that people kind of get. It's just depression could be bad, could be not so bad. Like it's really hard to, unless somebody's been around it or exposed to it or studied it well,
Mhm.
it's abstract, and it's abstract to feel because it just disconnects you from your normal emotions, from your normal ability to engage. And from that, I couldn't make small talk, or at least I felt like in conversations, like I'm not here and I don't know how to get back to myself.
That resonates with me completely. Does that remind you of the term disassociation? Do you
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
that
but
is?
I don't know if I know enough about the exact.
I sure don't, but it's pretty much like you almost feel detached from who you are and you're just watching your world like go on around you.
Yeah.
And I remember I would say that to Chris. I would be like, I just feel like I was watching but not engaged at all
Hmm.
and constantly trying to play catch up or
Yeah.
like what's next or and it's funny that you said that about the injury because I had a therapist who obviously knew I was a physical therapist. I was hospitalized at the hospital that I worked at. But one of the mental health therapists, she was like, "So, if someone breaks their leg really bad, are they going to be walking in a week?" And I was like, "Maybe." She's like, "Are they probably going to be walking in a month?" And I was like, "Well, maybe." She's like, "Well, are they going to be running in a year?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. It depends how bad it is. Maybe. Are they athletic? What did they do before?" And she said, "Well, that's how your mental health is." She's like, "It's going to be a day by day, peaks and valleys. And she goes, but the hard part is that it's not a broken bone. So you can't see it from the outside. You have no idea what's going on up here.
Yeah.
And when she said that to me, I felt like I was like, just drop the mic and send me the bill. I don't know what to say. Like, you're totally
Yeah.
spot on. And it's hard because I think depression is so different per person.
Yeah, I didn't want to get ready. It's funny because I really haven't returned to wearing makeup as much as I did before, just because
Hmm.
some part of that of me just turned off. And I still
Hmm.
enjoy makeup, but just that daily need for it was just like, no, no, we're gonna let that part go. But I've always liked doing my nails. I think one of the things that was like I'm starting to get back to me was painting my nails again. That was a little bright sign of like, okay, I'm taking the time. This makes me happy. But I really like the way that your counselor said that to you,
Yeah.
because within mental health, a lot of times, especially with like bipolar and stuff, people talk about diabetes as the analogy. Like, well, if you had diabetes, you take your insulin, and it's like, if I had diabetes, and this is, I don't have diabetes, so I don't fully understand this, but in my head, I'm like, if I had diabetes, I just not have sugar that much. There was a behavior, and so then a change. With something breaking on your body, that's like an external force. I feel like there's a lot more comfort in that kind of idea because it's not like controlled. Whereas if you said sugar were emotions, if with the diabetic thing, it's like, well, I'm not controlling my emotions. Why couldn't I just try harder? And again, the mind is a messy thing, but
Hmm.
I think there's a lot more hope in knowing, like, if someone said, have you survived difficult things, job losses or life changes in the past, maybe that's going to help you through this. I feel like if someone said that, that would be really nice.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I have gone through job changes and related to mental health and stuff in the past and had to kind of start over. And so this felt different because there was this baby part about it. But at
Hmm.
the same time, I just couldn't control it. So I felt very out of control. And I really looked forward to sleeping. I just wanted to not be interacting with life because it felt too hard. So.
Hmm. I get that 100% because then you're checked out.
So I would wake up and be like, oh no, I have the whole day to get through. And then
Hmm.
finally get to like, oh, I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to be off. And then, but it'll probably go by pretty fast. It was really living in these tiny, like, tiny spaces of survival. Very much survival. My mother in law actually started teaching me how to knit.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. While I
It's
was,
hard to worry when you're knitting, literally.
it
You
is.
can't.
It is because you're, especially when you're learning, because it's not pleasant. You're just messing it up, and it takes all your focus to do the same motion of loops. And that was, I don't know, a coping tool that I wasn't looking for that just showed up. And I'm so thankful for that. And I enjoy knitting now. And I got over the hump of learning because I
Mhm.
was so distracted by being miserable. Like, okay.
Oh, that's so funny. So, what would you say? It was a very long process, but I think once you got on the other side of pregnancy and delivery, you found the meds that worked.
Hmm.
That process to healing seemed to be pretty Diagonal. You seemed like you were on a good trajectory, right?
Right, right, right.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
What would you say overall it taught you? I mean, probably so many things, but about yourself, just as a mom, as a person, what did that whole experience looking back?
I think the biggest thing is just you have to wait sometimes, and it can be awful and you don't know when it's going to end. But it's very much, my sister says this, but it's the Finding Nemo, just keep swimming thing. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And that's all you can do. And I think settling in sometimes to the fact that tomorrow's not necessarily going to feel better than today, but I'm still here. I'm still in this, even though I don't want to be, I guess.
Hmm. I love that. No, that's great. What would you say to moms who are feeling the depression while they're pregnant? Because that's actually a very interesting perspective. And
Hmm.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I think it's something that's obviously not talked about enough.
Right.
So, what would you say to those moms who might be walking through that right now, or maybe they had that in their pregnancy experience? How would you either encourage them or just remind them that, just keep swimming, like it's going to end?
Well, I think the just keep swimming is maybe like the second part. The first part is to get help and be vocal and advocate for yourself. So when you're starting to feel overwhelmed, don't just tell your spouse or your partner or your friend. Tell people who can help you. If you need to take off time from work, do it. You will get back time in the future and give yourself a break. My husband told me that a lot. He said, just give yourself a break. You're
Mhm.
growing a baby. But if you can, maybe you need to be doing yoga every single day until it's not physically as possible. Maybe one of the things that I did was I listened to binaural brain waves, and they're just these sounds that are like dung, dung, and they help regulate your brain. I don't know the science completely behind it, but you can find it on your phone and listen. You put in like two headphones because it's balancing out things. And that was really soothing. So I had something that I could go to when I needed to kill time and just get a rest from thinking, turned off my head a little bit. So, and I would say just keep trying new things. If it means eating a lot of ice cream and it's not super dangerous to your health, do it. Do it while you're pregnant. Like just find coping tools. If it's more healthy ones like walking and stuff like that, start there. But kind of like
Mhm.
as things get more difficult, see a counselor, see a psychiatrist. Those things, find them early if you can, because you don't want to be waiting 2 months for an appointment if things are getting worse. And the Postpartum International group would always go over like, make sure you get sleep, make sure you drink water, make sure you eat regular meals. And I would never think like, oh yeah, just tell someone those basic living skills. But you need to be reminded and just move your body, not necessarily go run a mile, but move. And
Mhm.
those practical things are trying to jumpstart your body into functioning properly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's something that we forget because I think just like day to day when you're functioning well, you just live and, move about your day. But I think when you're struggling, if those basic needs aren't met, it is so easy to find yourself in a much quicker and a more severe spiral.
Definitely.
Because I would notice the days that I would struggle more or just be in a much worse place, none of those things,
Yeah.
were happening.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with you. And on the Postpartum Support International, there is the Find a Provider, there's those groups that you mentioned. So, there's a lot of good free resources on there too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Now, I know your husband was super supportive. You guys are ride or die. Love that. What would you say to other husbands, partners, spouses, just regarding supporting the mom as she's going through all these changes? Maybe they start to notice something. Maybe there's a little shift in how things are going. What would you say to them directly?
Well, actually, because you sent me some of these questions, I did talk to my husband about it. And one of the things that he said was it's a really good idea to look at outside sources to understand if it's anxiety or depression or whatever they're going through. Don't just have them tell you. I mean, it's one thing to try to be there by what someone says they need, But he said
Mm-hmm.
it was really helpful for him reading, as he would go on Reddit and actually read about other husbands who were going through similar things. I think he even came across a support group through Reddit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think he went once or twice, but I think just knowing that there were other things he could do because he wanted to do something, he wanted to help. And so I think that the educating himself, he said that was really helpful. So,
That's a really good answer. Yeah.
well, it's from him.
Honestly,
That's why.
I mean, honestly, thank him. That's a great answer
but
because I
but
think, go ahead.
oh, well, I was just going to say, I think that he needs to make sure, I think that husbands need support themselves and making sure they're not isolated and they're not trying to carry it all. And by support, sometimes it's just friendship. It's just someone to not think about how right now life at home is so difficult. And I think that was one of the more difficult parts for him was he didn't have that support.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think that's great to look it up and to get involved and just learn as much as they can. I think that's great.
mhm.
Yeah. Because it is interesting about the men, they want to fix it. Like, tell me how I can fix it. Do I need to get a new hammer? Like, no, you can't fix my brain. I wish you could. It would save us a lot of money and time, but no. So
Do either you or your husband, one of you, cook more at your
I
house?
do.
When
Hmm.
you weren't feeling well, who cooked?
Oh, that poor man. He had to, girl. I mean, yeah, I did not cook. You know what's really funny? It's so weird. We've talked about this before, just like random. I didn't want to cook. I still ran the sweeper, which is totally me because I'm like a clean, I wouldn't say a clean freak, but I'm
Mhm.
definitely a type A. Everything has a place. I like my house to be put together. So I still ran the sweeper and I still did laundry.
Good for you.
I'm like, at least I was doing something. Okay.
Yeah. No, you got a
Okay.
heartbeat.
But yes, yes. So I cooked a little bit when I was still home before I was hospitalized. I still cooked like a little bit here and there. And then my dad came for a while to help. So then he was definitely taking over the cooking. And then obviously when I was in the hospital, it was him and Chris.
Yeah.
And then when I came home and started to kind of feel better, my dad would cook with me, or Chris and I would cook together, or
Yeah.
we'd like order something easy or something like that. But yeah, it's interesting how it all shifts. But I think the really cool thing for people listening and even for us is just to look back and know that these two women on these screens went through some really deep, dark, nasty, unpredicted things. And now they're on the other side. And it's super, I don't know, rewarding, refreshing, any other adjective that sounds positive to look back, you know?
Yeah. I think it's restorative
Great
because
word.
you just feel like just your insides have been yanked out. You're not functioning the way you want to be. And so to feel like whole, this is
Mm,
me. We're still not perfect. We're still figuring life out, but you just feel so robbed of all of that when everything's going on. How long were you in the hospital?
12 days.
Okay. Those are probably
And
long
it
days.
was, oh my God, it was, I'm not going to lie, a psych unit, it's intense. It would annoy me so much because some of the nurses would be like, you're just here because you can't sleep. Because my diagnosis was mania bipolar 2 and insomnia. And I was like, no, I have depression and I don't sleep. And I'm manic because you made me strip all my clothes off and put on paper scrubs. And now here we are.
You're like,
That's like a whole other thing. Like,
oh,
so you've been through it?
oh yeah.
You've been,
Oh yeah.
so
Like
did you have the same experience with the paper scrubs?
not I don't remember them being paper, but they
They're
do.
like blue and they feel scratchy and gross. They're
Oh
definitely
yeah,
not
yeah,
fabric.
yeah, yeah.
They're like disposable.
You need to go to another place to recover from the trauma of going to a psych place because yes, I have been 7 or 8 times and it's hazy and it's awful and they
Yeah.
over medicate often and it's like, oh yeah, we're saving you from hurting yourself or others and it's like, you're hurting me.
Yeah.
I can't. It's brutal. Yeah.
It's very tough. I mean, it's like you said, I felt like a zombie, but then when I see pictures of me, when I didn't take any pictures for months, my daughter's first birthday was 6 months after. And
Mhm.
that was probably the first time I took pictures. I mean, I took pictures of her, but nothing with me in them. And I just used to always say, there's no life in my eyes.
Yeah.
My eyes look dead.
Yeah.
And I think it was just the meds.
Yeah, yeah. They're especially antipsychotics and stuff like that. You're not in control of your body, even though the goal is to be eventually. They just strip you of all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting experience. Maybe we need episode 3 on that. I'm
Yeah.
creating us a show. So, just wrapping up overall, is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you want to share, or maybe just a little like tidbit that you feel you want to just throw in? Anything like that?
Yeah, I know that holding on to the thought it will get better was critical. And it did get better. And it
Mhm.
took forever for that to happen. But
Mhm.
telling yourself it will get better, and I believed it. I really did, and I sort of nurtured that belief. It's going to
Mhm.
get better. It's going to get better. It's like I don't see a path how. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to change, but I know that it will get better. And then it finally did. And I think that so much of life is like that. When there's a season where things are bad, remembering there's going to be seasons of extreme joy, like that vacancy that you kind of saw in your eyes. It's going to be the opposite of that. And I think that happens this side of heaven. Like this, there's a lot of good in life. And so really enjoy the good moments too.
That's such good advice. You're doing great. This is lovely. It's true. Someone used to tell me you can do hard things. Like
Hmm.
we can do hard things.
Hmm.
This might be the hardest thing that you ever have to go through, hopefully.
Hmm.
But if it's not, you lived it. You
Hmm.
survived it. You regained your life. And
Hmm.
so I think looking back, knowing that is powerful, but also living it and being in the trenches and just saying, like, the sun will rise tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
and that's
yeah.
that ecclesi. I think it's Ecclesiastes,
Yeah.
but that
Ecclesiastes,
yeah,
yes.
it's really just like it's not saying the sun is going to be amazing, but it will be there. Like that's how I kind of see
Hmm.
it. And I remember reading Psalm 92 a bunch, where it talks about being in this. Jesus will shelter you. You're in under eagle's wings, something like that. God will
And like something about his
do.
refuge, I think,
But yeah,
right?
it's refuge under eagle's wings. And so that was a really helpful thing to imagine. Is like I feel weak and broken and terrified, but I have eagle's wings over me. So
Which is also really cool because I remember when I used to tell Chris, like, I'm broken and I'm useless. And he'd be like, we all are. That's literally why we need Jesus. And I was like, huh, not helping me in this moment, but true. But yeah, I mean, it's so true.
yeah.
It's so true. And it's like you said, the right people, the right medication, the right timing, time, and then healing. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I love my daughter so much. She's so amazing. I never want her to think like, oh, your birth was so difficult. I can't believe what you put me through, because that's just not really accurate. And it was hard, and she's amazing.
Wouldn't you do it again tomorrow?
What? Oh, yeah, actually, yes, I would. But I would have to have the whole, like, my husband and I would have to get to a place that we're both in, I guess. I mean, Lucy would be a factor now too, but we'd have to both be ready to go back into the trenches. And I don't think we've gotten there. So
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to pry into your second child hopes, but I just meant to have
I know,
her.
but
Like I
that would be the only reason. Like, why else
This
would
is
you
so
do it? Just for
yeah.
fun? No.
Uh-huh. No, but I think about that because like someone asked me that before. Like to get Cecilia to have that same exact kid, would you do it again? And I was like, yeah. I mean, would I want to? No.
I kind of hate that line of thinking, because it's like I feel like it's supposed to like justify suffering, and I think suffering is just bad. And I don't think you have to get to a place where you're like, I'm so glad I went through that because it made me so nice now, or whatever. But I just think sometimes suffering is suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Like just let it speak for itself, you
just
know?
like it was bad, we're not in control of this life. Like
No. Yeah. That's a great way to look at it too. I like that perspective
I
because I feel like everything has to be rationalized now.
Yeah,
And it's like, why can't
especially in like Christian circles, there's unfortunately the what did it teach you? And
it?
I think I've just been through some painful things that I'm like, it taught me that it was painful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's different other things, but like the biggest thing I remember is painful.
Yeah. Yeah. And it changes you. I mean, and it's not that you don't want it to, and not always in a bad way, but
Mhm.
just you're not the same after you experience that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now my favorite question for last. What would you say is just one word or phrase that you would use to sum up the whole pregnancy postpartum experience as you were dealing with all this?
Survival.
Explain.
All I knew, kind of at some level, was that I had to survive. It wasn't just about me, it wasn't just
Hmm.
about my husband, it wasn't just about the baby. It was just, you must survive. I mean, maybe that was God telling me. And I didn't want to ever harm myself, but I was also so terrified and uncomfortable and just at a loss. It just felt utterly helpless.
Hmm.
So just that survive. And surviving is sometimes eat, drink, sleep. Yeah.
I love that. That's a good one. That's a really good one. I love it. I just appreciate how you're just so honest and easy to talk to. And this was great.
Good, good. It's really a comfort to me to hear your story too, because I haven't talked to a lot of people that have shared that part. You know, we'll all share the cute baby shower stories, but not always the heartbreaking, crying moments that were a major part of it.
Hmm. Yeah. And how many times in life, if like I look back and I think, well, if I knew that so and so was going through that during the time, I could have like been there for them or supported them or done this or whatever. And I just feel like it's kind of like you said about the pain and the suffering. It's like I have to acknowledge it because not only because I want to, but also it's the root of the story. And how many other people have gone through it? Like something like you. I felt like when we talked about that, I was like, oh my gosh, we got to talk. It
Yeah.
just makes you realize that it's normal.
Hmm.
Like it's normal to go through these things. It's normal to have these emotions. Postpartum depression is a thing because it needs to be normalized.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like, just like the COVID part too. That'd be really funny if your podcast was just COVID people, everybody else,
Literally.
the pandemic woes.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really appreciate your time, your
Mhm.
friendship, and you being here with us tonight. It's just been really, really nice. So thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. I'm very happy to be a part of this.
Yeah. And then I will link Alana's Instagram and Facebook. So if anyone would like to reach out, that will be in the show notes at the bottom. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.